Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to thank the Honourable Member for Lacombe-Panoka for spending, and Honourable Member for Calgary-Fish Creek, and as well the Honourable Member for Lac-La-Biche St. Paul, Two Hills, for all the effort they've put into all of these amendments. It does take a lot of work. I've watched them over the last week or so, putting forward these amendments and consulting with Albertans, so I appreciate all the effort that you have put into it, and thank you very much, because they are important. This last amendment is something that is really important, because more and more often we rely on volunteers or appointees to come into certain facilities and actually work there and help with protecting the people who are there. One example is for example, when my brother was at the Innisfell Healthcare Centre, which is an Alberta Health Services facility, when he was in Rosefield Centre, my brother could not feed himself. So he required 11,000 calories a day to live. So you could imagine, if you can't feed yourself, how do you get 11,000 calories a day? Well, clearly the staff there did not have enough time to continuously feed him. And he could not feed himself because his disease had progressed so much that he was unable to hold a fork or a spoon or anything and provide that food to his mouth. So we engaged with certain people in the community who registered as volunteers, and they came in the day when my mum was not able to come in at night. My mum was there every single evening to feed my brother. And on the weekends we sparred off, and mostly my mum fed him because it was something that she wanted to do. But when you're having to feed someone who needs 11,000 calories a day, you're literally having to feed them all the time. It's not just let's go and feed them dinner and let's go feed them breakfast and let's go feed them lunch. You are having to literally sit down with them on a constant basis and feed them pudding and feed them Ensure and all of those things. And that takes time. And we acknowledged that that was almost impossible for frontline staff workers to do. There's not the ability in the system to have them be able to spend that much time with my brother. So by engaging the volunteers, we were able to find some fantastic volunteers that for 2 years while he was in Rosefield Centre came in faithfully every single day that my mum could not be there and fed him all day long. Well, this is a huge burden that they've taken off of the healthcare system. I think it's important to understand what our volunteers do in these facilities. These same people took time out of their day to spend 8 hours a day feeding my brother who couldn't feed himself. Now, without him, that duty would have fell to a healthcare worker. And clearly, we don't have the staff, nor do we have the dollars to provide that kind of service. Now, in addition to that, that volunteer would take him outside because he could not wheel himself outside. They would light a cigarette for him. They would take him out to smell the flowers during the times when my mum had to work. My mum and I both had full-time jobs because we were the only ones paying the bills. So when you're relying that heavily on a volunteer sector, we need to protect them because they really are doing the job of our employees. And if you're expecting them to do the job of our employees, then they should be granted the same protection as that employee gets. And when we're taking a look at a sector of our healthcare system, and it's not just our healthcare system, we have volunteers who deal with people with developmental disabilities, our AISH clients, they're all over. And yet we're asking them to work as employees, and some of them are putting in significant hours. I know the two volunteers that helped my brother for 2 years put in easily 40 hours a week. And then were kind enough to come in even on the weekends just to see if my mum needed a hand. So if you're doing that, we're not asking for family members. When my mum came in, that was just her nurturing nature of her to go in there and sit with him for that long until his passing. But when you're asking people to give up 40 hours of their week to go in and really do what employees should be doing but can't and don't have the time to do, then let's protect them just the same as their employees. Because not only are we talking about that, but we're also talking about these people are in the system and they're there voluntarily, but they also see things. They're made aware of situations. That some of those people that are there that are feeling vulnerable might confide in them. And so then we're basically saying to them, you have no protection, so if you come forward, you may not be able to come back here. And I can tell you, as a caregiver, I relied on that volunteer to help my brother because we couldn't be there. But I can tell you more importantly, Those 2 volunteers became my brother's best friends. You know, and these were 2 older women who took the time out of their day to spend 8 hours a day with some boy they didn't even know. When my brother came into that facility, he was just a patient just like any one of us. But by the time of his death, and to this day, these people spend their holidays with our family. These people spend their time with our family. These people have dedicated their lives to the last 2.25 years of my brother's life, all just because they're kind. And now we're saying to them, don't give them any protection because we don't want to protect you because you're just a volunteer. Now I'm giving you one side of the story, and I appreciate it that you're hearing this, because I feel like you are, and I think that's great. But I think if you take a look at it from that perspective, it's not just a frivolous amendment. These people add value to our system. They relieve the healthcare system. They relieve taxpayer dollars. But more importantly, they make the lives of the people they're helping that much better. My brother loved these people. I love these people, and I didn't know them 3 years ago. So I just ask that if you could just take a minute before you automatically decide that this is something you absolutely cannot support. Can you just take a minute to take a look at it from that perspective? Because we're asking a lot of people here, and more people are going into care. More and more people need baths. More and more people need to be fed. My brother did get bathed once a week. Once a week. Now, if that volunteer had been allowed to bath him, she would have done that too. And I'm not faulting the frontline workers for that. That's not their fault. But we're asking volunteers to be employees. So just take a step back, please think about it for 2 minutes, and consider this amendment. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Member.